Films, games, books, songs, whatever the media may be, nothing, and Shadi, I mean nothing will ever be as scary as the internet. Watch as many horror films as you want, but YouTube will outdo Hollywood every time if you dig deep enough. Films are made for a more general audience. They're softer and more inoffensive, and even when they're not, they're usually seen through the 4K lenses of modern, big money entertainment. YouTube brings us the complete limitless stretches of horror. There's no glam, no high def, no company standards, just simple fear. Now get ready, because you are about to watch the definitive scary video Iceberg. But wait, there's always give and take in a healthy relationship. I'm giving you the best Iceberg content, so maybe consider subscribing or even hitting that bell. Let's get started with the first layer, starting with Poochie and Pansy. Alright son, you're 4 months old now and I really need a moment to myself. Maybe a YouTube video will distract you. What's this? Poochie and Pansy? Episode 1? Oh, this looks cute and made for children. Perfect. No, not perfect. Don't let your kids watch this. I repeat, do not let your kids watch this. So we start with Poochie and Pansy Part 1, The Quest for the Midnight Crown. And so far, all I can see is two adorable puppies that look like they were drawn using Tux paint. But hey, that's kind of strange. I can't hear anything. Guess I'll just have to turn the audio all the way up, right? Yeah, sure guys, pause my video here, go find Poochie and Pansy Part 1 and turn it up all the way because there's no loud noises. Oh, are you back yet? See, that was a lesson in trust, and now that we all know I always tell the truth, let's get back to the review. Poochie is the brown dog on the left and Pansy is the gray dog on the right. Poochie tells Pansy about a strange dream he had about a kitten who was locked in a tower by an evil witch who was after the so-called Midnight Crown. Turns out Pansy was dreaming about the same thing, and they deduce this can only mean it must be real and they must be the ones to save him. They plot out a plan on their map to travel to a place called Suffer Dark, and they conclude that the quickest way to get there is through a cavern way called Batwing Cave. So far, this is all in a very cute show and it seems pretty harmless, so I'm not even sure why it's on this list right now. They pull up to Batwing Cave and happen upon their friend Freddy the Firefly, who appears to... What? Guys, I can't believe you would trick me into getting jump scared like that. I thought we had some trust, dude. Anyways, a loud screaming, strange looking skeletal head appears, jump scaring any poor little kids who thought this was a video just for them. It's not actually that scary looking if you pause the video, it just looks like a Halloween mummy, but I guess anything can be scary if it's accompanied by an electronic screaming blasting out of your laptop speakers. And then we make our way to Poochie and Pansy Part 2 something, and this title alone generally sums up the video already. Wow, that nice music they had. Okay, we're back to the loud noises already. Did you forget the title of the show? Because I sure didn't, but nevertheless, the narrator is here to remind you, screaming the title over and over again. The two dogs appear again, but this time they can barely make out a sentence without glitching and lagging out. Eventually, the horrible lagging sound of the video turns into an awful amalgamation of sounds before suddenly, the video cuts to real-life footage that appears to have been taken in some old abandoned factory. The man with the camera is holding a flashlight to just barely make out his surroundings. The first thing we see appears to be a strange bowl of some indestructible, disgusting slop. He then shines the flashlight on some old pipes, some buttons on an old machine, a sink, and finally, a very out-of-place clock. The video suddenly cuts again to a yellow-tinted room where a hooded man with a white cloth covering his face puts his hand over the camera. I've got to say, the build-up in this video definitely outscared the final shot, but there's still a lot of confusing questions the series has yet to answer. So to answer those, let's go to Poochie and Pansy Part 3, The Witch's Bargain. This one starts off with a strange intro, switching between the one we're used to and a weird demonic version with a red sky and eerie music. The man in the hoodie can briefly be seen in the background. Spooky, oh no, Pansy's been captured by the witch. Poochie is confronted by the witch, who actually looks kind of terrifying, actually. I don't know if they intended for that part of it to be scary too, but maybe it's just me. The witch tells Poochie that if he ever wants to see Pansy again, he has to let the witch take his eyes. I personally have a glaring issue with that deal, but I'll leave you to your conclusions. Poochie agrees for some reason, and the witch begins to reach for Poochie's eyes. Right as the witch's hand reaches Poochie, the video cuts to the yellow room again, this time focused on a fan. The witch flashes briefly on the screen before cutting to a shot of a beeping phone. The video cuts again, this time to what I can only describe as a rubber face. This part genuinely scared me as the face is extremely disturbing and unlike what we have previously seen in the first two episodes. Not only does it give off uncanny valley vibes, but the fact that it's moving around ever so slightly definitely does not help its case. Audio of what sounds like a little girl crying can be heard over the clip, making it even more disturbing. It cuts to the evil background from the start of the video with text saying, "You are alone, but you do not know it." So far, the third video is definitely way scarier than the first two and has raised the bar pretty high on how scary the series can be. The next episode, titled "A Special Announcement from Poochie and Pansy," presented by Dulce Family Entertainment, appears to be different from the usual story episode, as we're met with the main cast of the show so far all together. The witch, Poochie, and Pansy all stand together at the same opening background. Poochie and Pansy talk directly to the audience with a message about the scary things we see on TV. Poochie explains that sometimes we see scary things on our television and that they're not real. If we only step outside and look around, then that's what's real. Damn, Poochie, I didn't realize you were chill like that. Turns out Poochie is in fact actually not chill like that at all, as the world shifts to a strange purple tone and Poochie and Pansy's eyes turn red. The witch starts to turn blue with a paler face. The audio shifts around strangely while what sounds like a police radio plays faintly in the background. The sky turns full on red while the dogs get big toothy grins with fangs now showing. The witch now resembles the man in the hoodie while the audio distorts even further and gets faster. The video suddenly begins cutting to a variety of disturbing clips, starting with the uncanny rubber face from earlier, a strange tongue protruding from its mouth. The witch briefly appears, followed by text reading, "You are alone." It's hard to make out the rest of the footage, but there appears to be POV from inside a parked car, the mummy face from earlier appearing briefly, some of the abandoned factory footage now tinted red, followed by more text repeatedly saying, "Trying to reach you." More factory footage plays while a reporter can be heard speaking of the greatest mass extinction event where 96% of humans might disappear off the face of the earth. This is followed by a sudden rapid fire of 5 images, the first being of Poochie with missing eyes, the second of the 2 scary dogs with a hooded man from the start of the video, and the third appears to be a terrifying drawing of a sharp-toothed man. However, my writer, who by the way, you should go subscribe to his channel, he's great, he helped me out with this video a lot, he actually recognized this image and upon further research confirmed his suspicion that it was in fact an image of Binzo Suji from famous Japanese horror artist Junji Ito. Anyways, the fourth picture is just the same old mummy from before, and the fifth picture is of the witch. The final picture is the second image of Binzo Suji, now in color. Footage continues down a yellow-tinted hallway of what seems to be either a hospital or an elementary school. The screen finally cuts to the red beginning background with the text "All Dead" briefly flashing on the screen. The episodes have thus far become only scarier and scarier, and I'm honestly worried about how the next video will be based on this last one. The next episode is titled something, and then in parentheses, Poochie and Pansy Part 4, The Witch's Eye subtitled, and something tells me that this one's going to be a little bit different. Also, the audio is really quiet again, which kind of worries me. Luckily, translation is provided. Poochie and Pansy have apparently defeated the witch, and they are now attempting to finally find the kitten. The witch's face jump scares the screen during the intro, but I'm honestly just a hard, emotionless man who is too strong to be afraid of anything, so it didn't particularly affect me. The dogs are in a dungeon, and Poochie suspects the kitten is behind a specific dungeon door. Pansy questions how he would know that, and it's revealed that Poochie has replaced one of his eyes with one of the witch's eyes so he can now see through the door. Ew. As the long shot stays focused on the dungeon door, the video editor eventually realizes that he's gone a good 27 seconds without adding any glitch effects. The video cuts off and we're met with a live action video once again. This time a man is running through snow, eventually happening upon the words "Find You" written in said snow. The words fill with poorly scribbled crayon blood before the video shows the hooded man in the yellow room once again, reaching for the camera. Suddenly, a shot of something that is hard to make out shows on screen. It appears to be 2 icicles in the middle of a black void. Blizzard-like sounds can be heard in the distance. We're left with text on screen reading, "Everyone in your world is dead, but you, only you exist." The screen turns to black while "Find You" flashes one more time. Gotta admit, this one kind of let me down at how scary the other ones were. I mean, this one was alright I guess, but not really that scary, and we're no closer to finding any answers. The next episode is called Poochie and Pansy Part 5, Morse code, I guess. And I'm really starting to think that an actual 5-year-old made these videos based on these titles. The video opens up with the hooded man in the yellow room before switching to the title we're used to, but this time the music is slowed down. The series is getting a little old, you're gonna have to do a little more than that to get me. A hilarious picture of a guy with big eyes screaming flashes on the screen, followed by a picture of a dog showing his teeth. The outside of some boarded up house is shown before footage of the factory is again shown. The title screen shows again with the text blacked out before flashing a picture of Smile Dog and then another picture of Binzo Suji. I personally feel like the lackluster moments heavily outweigh the actual scary moments so far, as there are so many random other creepypastas that just appear in these videos. Like, why can't they make more of their own? The rubber face was extremely scary, like where the hell did that go? No hate to the actual makers of this though, I'm just kind of providing some critiques. Anyways, then a series of images flashes again, and I bet nobody was expecting that, but it's all images we've already seen up to this point, so I'm just gonna get on with this. Just as I'm beginning to realize just how little interest I have in this series, the most unexpected thing happens. The hooded man straight up starts tweaking all over the place and does a little dance. We finally cut back to the two dogs as they had finally opened the door to find the kitten. The cat literally just stares at them for like an uncomfortable amount of time before Poochie seems to turn evil, and we see more live action footage of a parking lot, all while the same high-pitched irritating sounds play. Watching this series is beginning to feel like watching a music video by 100 gecs, which is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. 100 gecs is hard as hell, okay? 100 gecs is fire. Anyways, strange old footage of a cartoon plays with a girl crying in front of a mirror. She begins to look up and her face morphs into a terrifying grin. More live action footage, and then we see a POV shot walking through the woods into a strange opening with wood cylinders lined up in a circle. We see Poochie again before seeing the scary grinning girl again before ending the evil intro shot background. The next episode is called Poochie and Pansy Part 6, Message from the... We start off with the footage of a swing before cutting to the same title screen I've seen only 20 million times already. It cuts to a scary dark face that looks almost exactly like the wreath from Nightmare Before Christmas. The dogs and the cat say some stuff, and then we see some more images, and then the rubber face do it again, and then it ends with the same red background, but this time there's text that says, "You must find it to become free, G." I can't believe this show has the audacity to call me G, like we chill like that. Anyways, and then the last episode is called Poochie and Pansy Part 7. The title screen plays again, the dogs and cat are sitting again, the cat screams really loud, a bunch of code on a computer screen, more live action footage, the same red screen with the text reading David's mind traverses many parallels. Anyways, let's just move on from this one. Next, we got Creepy Grudge Ghost Girl in the Mirror. One of the most iconic internet horror videos, almost everyone must have seen this one. It was uploaded to YouTube by ncook1234, and the video features strange footage of a young girl messing with her hair in the mirror. The video starts off a little dark and pale, already making something about it kind of unsettling. The girl adjusts her earrings, then shakes her head around to let her hair fall over her ears. Other than the shading and the creepy music, nothing seems to be very off about this scene. The girl seems to smile and wave at the camera, a sweet, pretty, and innocent looking young girl. Hold up, the reflection doesn't move when she turns her head, and while the sweet young girl is smiling, waving at the camera, her reflection's jaw melts down as if a black hole had opened in her mouth. Her eyes are strange white pearls with black rings around them. And this one is like pretty classic. This one has like been around for years, and it's a classic. It's scary, you know, I like it. Agamemnon Counterpart. Uploaded by Sleazy Elf, this highly disturbing entry has been the subject of many different YouTubers' videos, the most popular one being Scare Theater's Agamemnon Counterpart Explained. The video starts off with an old VHS legal message warning of unauthorized reproduction and copyright infringement. We're then met with this message. In the year 2571, a video cassette tape was found in a pile of rubble on the ruins of a certain blue planet. What you are about to witness will not be the contents of the aforementioned cassette. This is a entirely different recording. Very funny. Now show me the video. The video instantly starts off with an extremely strange cartoon setting that is somewhat obscured by old VHS grain and TV waves. A big ol' sun is smack dab in the middle of the whole big blue sky over a vast open field with a path running down the middle. This would be a somewhat pleasant looking children's program if it wasn't for the grain and the strange gray tint. Because of that, it looks ominous, but not nearly as ominous as the strange blob-like character who is instantly making his way towards you as soon as the video begins. As it gets closer, you can see that he's a yellow-looking guy with orange spiky hair, Gary Busey eyes, and a mouth that looks like a cross-section of the earth. Like, I actually have no idea how else to describe it. This guy is messed up for real. A little cyclops bird flies up alongside him too, but I hardly noticed it while I was looking at the yellow dude's fugly face. Text floats above the characters' heads reading, "Let's make a new friend. Say no more. I'm down, bruh." The music starts off sounding like something you'd hear in a laser tag waiting room, but it's quickly interrupted by what comes next. The weird little bird thing says, and I quote, Then a very real sounding scream of pain can be heard, I assume coming from the bird. This instantly catches me off guard because there were enough disturbing things with the video already to put me on edge, and this very real scream pushes all discomfort instantly to unsettlement. The yellow guy says, "Oh," then his text bubble turns into chaotic static as the yellow guy writhes around, screaming in agony. The video switches to a close-up of an animated boy's face. He has only a mouth, no eyes, no nose. The screaming continues continues, now looking like the boy himself is the source of it. Across all of this, the screaming sounds the same, like it's coming from the same person, almost as if the video was recorded over a real person's torture. The boy disappears as the screaming continues, and we're met with a mass horde of the Cyclops bird from the start, all jumping and churning around each other at the bottom of the screen. A can be seen burned into the top of the screen. Suddenly, the yellow guy shoots out of the horde, the sun shooting up with him, becoming larger and larger at a rapid rate, as if it were to scratch this strange planet into a fiery tomb. The yellow guy's head floats off his body and into the sky as his cranium swells and his mouth stretches into a multicolor epilepsy nightmare. You're left to watch his headless corpse dance around with the rest of the revolting crowd. Suddenly, a terrifying bulbous head appears with markings all over it in a similar style to Japanese woodblock prints. Looking almost like a Chinese dragon, its chin wriggles and writhes around as if it were covered in tentacles. The head melts into a horrible stain as if you were watching a germ getting burned alive. We see flashes of the yellow guy screaming with his favorite letter A perched above his head. The dragon face appears again with a strange rainbow mouth, sharing similarities to how oil looks in the light. The boy from earlier returns, but this time there are two smaller copies of his head where his eyes should be, and a question mark stands beside him. The video concludes with the cheery setting from the beginning, now devastated by the wailing, whipping, withering winds of electrical fever dream acid, as if the sun really did draw too close. A lone man stands on the pathway as the video finally concludes. Something tells me there will be no more video on this iceberg harder to put into words. 1 minute and 30 seconds seems like a small portion of time, but when it says packed with petrifying specters as this one was, time instantly becomes nil and fear truly takes hold. Pro tip, do some acid yourself and then tune into this video, preferably in VR. Now, I feel like I should clarify that's a joke because I'm the guy that made the drug iceberg. That's a joke. Okay, I don't condone acid use. The Wyoming incident. So I watched this re-upload from 2023. The clip starts with a newscaster appearing from a standard television program. The clip beginning mid-airing and mid-sentence. She states, quote, Wyoming today, making him the first to visit in preparation for the 2008 general election. From this sentence, we can obviously deduce the time the television took place, 2008. She then begins another sentence with, quote, Republicans have, but that's all that's spoken before the program transitions to loud static, only turning back to the regular program for a moment in between static where we can see a photograph of Mitt Romney with the subtitle, Presidential Hopeful Visit. This does not aid us in finding out any more about the intended topic of the broadcast, but we can also see in the bottom right corner of the screen a hint towards finding the video's original source right off the bat. It's the symbol of the news station that released the broadcast. It's K2 News for ABC, the leading news source for Wyoming. As we delve back into the static interruption, the visual improves again to show a strange 8-bit black, white, and gray screen reading, We present a special presentation, alongside the numbers 333, 333, 333. I attempted to look up the meaning of that specific number order, but very strangely, all the Google results will say that it means good luck or good fortune. If you go to Google Images, however, or to videos, most of the content is disturbing, strange. Also, that happens to be the name of a fantastic Blade album with tracks such as Ecstasia, which sounds like sex. Anyways, as we watch the still 333 screen, we begin to hear an extremely strange musical sound gradually accompanying the video. The sound alike to that of multiple horns and a strange slow melody. A black screen with the message, You will see such pretty things, appears while the audio switches to very strange electronic sounds. We're shown a pale, crude 3D model of a head up too close for comfort, then slightly further away at a more reasonable distance. We're then brought back to the 333 screen. As we watch the screen in silence once again, the horns slowly fade in just as before. A new black screen appears with the message, Why do you hate? The face suddenly appears up close again, followed by many of the heads appearing around each other with eerie and aged whimsical ball music playing. The black screen returns with the message, We just want to fix you. Same 333 screen, same deal with the audio, this time cutting to the message, What hides in your mind? Endearing music suddenly plays over the head, now rotating, then up close, followed by the message, We have already seen it. Back to the 333 screen, and one thing I would really like to say about this video is that it's highly disturbing. In Poochie and Pansy, I mean, it wasn't bad, but the repetitiveness was kind of its downfall because it kind of was just the same thing over and over again in a lot of aspects. But in the Wyoming incident, repetition is exactly why it works. The horns sound so soft yet so horrible, and every time we see the 333 screen again, a part of our mind hears the long silence and believes every time that maybe the horns won't play this time. The screen always returns to that shot and the horns always come. Completely predictable yet terrifying every time. No matter how many times you watch the same loop happen, you're always unnerved at the fact that the disturbing disturbing sound will play again. This video alone has taught me that even the most predictable things can be the scariest. The message reads, "You can lose everything and nothing is priceless." The video continues through this agonizing cycle of the 333 screen to a black screen with a message to more shots of the 3D heads. Throughout the rest of the videos, the remaining messages read in this order. "You cannot hide forever, we stand at the door, you are lost on the path, there's truth in fiction, and finally, all good things." We finally return to static as the screen resolves to Mitt Romney's familiar face alongside the sound of the news lady speaking like nothing had ever occurred. The last words spoken as the newscast ends are, "Mitt Romney also plans on visiting Static Tour in Cheyenne on his presidential tour." One final shot leaves us with both the news lady and the newsman sitting at the table. Their names now revealed. The man's name is Mike Burge and the woman's name is Jessica Cadleb. Max Headroom Incident with subtitles, 1987. Max Headroom was a television character from 1985 in the film Max Headroom 20 Minutes into the Future. He was a somewhat off-putting character to begin with his strange CGI-type look and glitching stutter. However, in similar style to the previous video, this video is focused on yet another broadcast. The thing that makes this video especially scary is because the last broadcast hack was totally fake and never happened. Sorry if I ruined your immersion there. But this broadcast hack was an actual incident that really happened in 1987 to two Chicago stations during their WGN TV broadcast. We can see in the video a classical film playing, suddenly being interrupted by a change in signal to a man in a strange room wearing a suit and a Max Headroom mask. The majority of the video is just this man talking incoherently to the screen, so I will simply read off what he says. And I quote, "That does it, he's a frickin' nerd. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I think I'm better than Chuck Swirsky. Frickin' liberal. Ha ha ha, oh Jesus, here we go, yeah." At this point, he holds up a can of Pepsi and drops it down, and I quote, "Catch the wave? Your love is fading." And then he like hums a little bit. "I can still see the X." More humming. "My files, oh, I just made a giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds." At this point, he puts on a glove and says, "My brother is wearing the other one, it's dirty." He then removes it and says, "I'm gonna put my fine off," whatever that means. We now see Max from a side angle, now bent over with his tongue sticking out. He's facing a lady with her face off screen holding a fly swatter. Max says, "They're coming to get me," to which the lady replies, "Bend over, B-word," and repeatedly smacks Max on the butt with his pants pulled down. Max screams and says, "Don't do it, no," before the screen cuts to black and then eventually returns to the regularly scheduled program. Well, not much of anything is known about who caused this hijack, but one thing I know for sure is that Max Headroom will always feel way more creepy when I watch him now. Wait, I think he's actually just as like creepy as before. He's just a freaky guy, bro. Max is a freak. If you're watching this and your name is Max, you're probably a freak. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is a 12-episode musical YouTube series made by Becky Sloan and Joe Pelling. So the first episode starts us off with shots in a quaint-looking abode, the set created artistically from cotton and foam. Among shots of standard household items, we see a sticky note reading, "Get creative." Finally, we see our cast, a group of 3 creative-looking characters sitting quietly together at their kitchen table. 2 puppets and 1 man in a puppet costume. One of the puppets resembling a green duck, one a yellow man overalls, and the man an almost Zoidberg red-looking mop head man. A notebook on their table suddenly flips open to reveal it's a puppet like them, singing a tune about creativity. During the song, the yellow man inquires upon how to have ideas, upon which the notebook demonstrates how to be creative. Singing, "Look at this orange, now tell me, what do you see?" "Just a boring old orange," squawks the duck. "That's because you're not thinking creatively," sings the notepad. The notepad gestures to her crazy hair that she uses to express herself. The red man completely unexpectedly and hilariously says, "That sounds really boring," while the notebook just repeats the same thing it already said, as if not processing the red man's based insult. The group finally begins to understand creativity when watching the clouds outside their kitchen window, appearing as many wild, different things. Finally, the yellow man begins to practice his creativity with a painting of a clown. Suddenly, the notebook says, "You might need to slow down," as a black oil-like liquid substance pours over the painting, ruining it as the cheery music suddenly stops. The camera stays on the strange black liquid for a while as the unnervingness of the situation sinks in. What? The music suddenly picks up again as if nothing happened. The notebook gives the group an interesting activity to practice their creativity. They're to find some sticks and leaves and arrange them to spell out their favorite color. So fun. Red man spells out blue, duck spells out red, and the yellow man spells out green. The notebook sings, "Green is not a creative color." Yellow man looks down glumly. This is supposed to be like a scary video list, but this one is just flat out hysterical so far. This notebook lady kinda sucks, dude. The group's creative abilities are finally unleashed as they begin to make all kinds of crafts. The room turns CGI, spinning around before suddenly the group appear in live action. The 2 puppet characters now being played by people like the red guy. The montage of arts and crafts continues, only now there's a real human heart as one of the crafts, sparkles and stuff being sprinkled over it, as the shot cuts to the yellow guy dancing erratically in a strange sort of crouched position. The bright sky outside quickly switches to thunderclouds and storms as the whole group dances chaotically, the music turning into an awful mix of violin screams. The montage becomes quicker and more violent as the heart is rolled in around the glitter. The group cuts the cake that's sitting on their table, and as they pull the slice out, it's meaty like human flesh instead of cake. The word death is drawn by the duck as we then see the human heart on the ground in front of a mouse hole being slowly sucked in. Insanity ensues before we finally return to a shot of the group back at the table like normal, the music like normal. The notepad sings, "Now let's agree to never be creative again," before falling over, closing. The episode ends with a shot of the mouse hole. The strange black muck from earlier streaming from it is very strange flutes play. To be honest, the scariest part of this highly unnerving video has to be the heart being sucked into the mouse hole. It's hard to describe the way it looks, like it's not being sucked in, it's also being stretched and torn apart by the force that's pulling it. I still have no idea how they got that effect, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen, and it makes me kind of shiver when I see it. Episode 2 is the only episode with a name, that name being Time. The group is all in their respective chairs in the living room as a clock audibly ticks away. Click, clock, click, clock. The red guy says, "Come on guys, stop mucking around. There's only 5 more minutes before our show starts." Duck guy squawks, "There's not enough time," before suddenly their wall clock comes alive to say, "There's always time for a song." The clock begins to sing a song about time to teach what it is and how it's used. "Time for a bath," he says. "What do you mean? We're already clean," says the duck man. The clock somewhat violently scrubs the yellow man anyways. Scrub, scrub, scrub till the water's brown. The disturbing thing about him saying this is that although blood appears red at the surface and pink slightly underneath, blood will appear brown underwater. The clock starts singing very poorly, so poorly in fact that it becomes comical. "It's time to go to time," says the clock. The red man argues against this as they're gonna miss their show that begins shortly. "Don't be stupid," says the clock quite harshly. They take a journey through examples of time like the Victorian era being a time period and an old and young tree being an example of aging over time. The apple sings one of the verses about becoming unripe as he melts away like acid, the music briefly slowing down in a disturbing manner before picking back up. The clock gets more upset when the duck man stops to play with cards. "There's a time and a place for mucking around, like birthdays, camping." Suddenly, instead of rhyming with the word around to continue the song, the yellow man just says, "I've rented my dad." His dad, a tall, strange-looking, creepy puppet, stands ominously over him. The clock takes the gang to the future before returning to their house at different times of day. "It's 7:45, there's fish on my plate. It's 20 past day, there's fish on my tray. It's 11 to 12, there's fish in the bath. It's 9:30, there's fish everywhere. There's fish everywhere." The red man begins to notice that there is fish everywhere throughout the house, strangely off topic. The gang regroups in the living room and begins singing lots of questions about time, the questions being intelligent and genuine. Duck guy says, "Maybe time's just a construct of human perception, an illusion created by," and then the clock starts to scream loudly at them in anger like an alarm clock beeping. The yellow man's ears bleed from the sound. The gang's appearance begins to change due to time as yellow and red guy's hair grows and duck guy changes differently, his flesh melting off his meaty bones. The yellow guy becomes prune-like and old. The red guy takes a piece of flesh off by pulling his hair. They all melt down and turn to fleshy corpses wailing to make it stop. The shot pulls out showing the whole scene to have taken place within their TV in the living room, all of the gang watching and being perfectly okay. The clock says, "Don't worry, I'm sure you'll be fine," but eventually everyone runs out of time. The episode reminds me of my time back in the good old days. You know, there was no Skibbity Toilet episode 25 or Skibbity Toilet episode 47. It was just Skibbity Toilet episode 1. The third episode begins with a shot in the woods of a missing poster for the puppet trio. Last seen on June 19th printed below a photo of the three. Right underneath the missing photo, the group sits in the forest having a picnic. Red takes notice of how nice it is to be outdoors on a beautiful day. Duck guy agrees, adding the fact that he packed a delicious chicken picnic. Yellow guy notices a beautiful butterfly magically flying around him. This makes him happy, but the duck guy suddenly kills the butterfly with a fly swatter. Pesky bee. The yellow guy is upset by this and he runs away. He climbs into a tree to cry, but another butterfly joins him, requesting to ask him a question. He breaks into song singing, "Have you ever wondered why we're here?" He continues to sing about the sadness and hatred in the world and offers that we can all live together in harmony. Yes, episode 3's topic is love. Yellow guy joins the butterfly in the sky, gliding on the clouds as he sings about what love is. The two friends spot the duck guy flying through and consider joining him, but decide to stay with their chicken instead. Yellow guy meets the butterfly's friends in the sky as the other two pals finish the chicken meal and once again consider finding duck guy. The friends tell the yellow guy the story of Michael, the ugliest boy in town. The story tells that Michael was outcast from his town and lived in a hole underground, effectively proving no point. Suddenly mid-song, they mention their worship of their king Malcolm. He is the king of love. We must feed him gravel or he becomes angry. The friends suddenly try to convince the yellow guy to change his name, clear his brain, and forget about everything you've ever known. This series does take me back, dude, to back when like the internet was like actual edgelords. Anyway, suddenly yellow guy wakes up, seeing that he's just in the tree that he had been before. His friends had found him there as he woke. They had brought him the last egg to cheer him up, but the egg cracks open, revealing a fetal stage butterfly screaming father. Duck guy smacks it to death with his swatter. Pesky bee, freaky ass series for sure, but I don't want to burn you guys out with this one. It goes pretty long and could easily be a video of its own just to cover the whole series. It's a long series and it's really just a lot more of, you know, random equals funny, random equals scary, edgelord stuff. So I'm just gonna move on now. Let Me Hear Your War Cry. Taken from a scene from the 1987 Kubrick masterpiece Full Metal Jacket, Let Me Hear Your War Cry is nothing like the previous materials on this list, as it's only a single video lasting around 41 seconds. The original scene depicts Sergeant Hartman attempting to rile up his troops, where he specifically targets the main character of the film, Joker, asking to see his war face. In the original scene, Hartman screams at Joker saying, "Ah, that's a war face! Now let me hear your war face!" This causes them both to scream back and forth at each other in an attempt to show their war faces. This video is a horrible, terrifying amalgamation of this scene. The characters' faces looking like that of melting mannequins, their mouths gaping and stretching. Both characters make a strange high-pitched noise, getting louder and louder as the video goes on. Very unsettling to watch, and pretty effective for a quick yet lasting scare. Meat Canyon. Meat Canyon, also known as Hunter Hancock, is a now popular YouTuber who makes distressing animations of popular characters and celebrities. These parodies take a twisted turn on popular pop culture icons as they're depicted as disgusting amalgamations of their former identities. If I went into every episode, it would take years, so I'll just give you a good idea of what kind of content he makes with one of his more popular videos. We'll look at the Sneeko situation, where YouTuber Sneeko and YouTuber Moist Critical had a bit of a feud, arguing over gun-related facts like what a mag is. Moist surprised many people when he casually whipped out numerous guns to back up his logic, instantly changing the tone of the argument, and showing that whether it was a direct intention or not, a message was sent to clearly not mess with the likes of Penguin Z or Moist Critical. Meat Canyon jumped on the topic, making an animation in reference to the whole debacle. Sneeko is seen strangely animated as a skinny, bony, malnourished man, recording himself dissing Critical for his channel. Suddenly, his Ring doorbell captures Moist standing at his front door, appearing like the Grim Reaper himself, pale and dead in the eyes. Moist manages to break through his doors with ease, black tentacles shooting out of his body and ripping apart Sneeko right after he utters the words, "Andrew Tate wept. My dead great-grandma's coffin in my own backyard?" Yeah, I'm pretty sure you already know exactly what's wrong in this video just from the title alone. I'll give it one thing, this intro is bumpin'. Its intro makes me want to dance, bro. And then the rest of the video makes me want to throw up and drink bleach in my eyes. Pretty cool. You can see the coffin behind this James May from Top Gear looking guy from the start of the video. It's covered in a blue tarp, which makes me seriously consider already how secure this body actually is. He states that his reason for moving her there is because the cemetery wasn't well kept, but then he says to keep quiet about it, which is never a good thing to say about a dead body in any case. He delivers all the information through sign language. This is apparently just the intro, and he prepares an older video to a show that was approximately made in October 2008. Oh god, the first thing he says is, "I told you about the real human skull in my previous video." This guy sounds like any other YouTube intro, like he says it so casually it sounds almost normal. And then like Video Whiplash, the guy just says, "Here it is," pulling the skull out of nowhere to show to the screen. He then makes mention that his grandma passed away October 31st, 1945, which makes her a roughly 62-year-old corpse by the point in this video. Notice how her death date is on Halloween, which makes it a little bit suspicious. We see the body finally, and I'm really going back and forth myself on whether this is real or not. It looks just as real as it is fake, if that makes any sense. After getting different angles of the body, the scariest thing on this whole list so far happens when this guy straight up starts kissing his dead grandma on the lips multiple times. It ends with him yet again asking the viewers not to judge him, which, yes, DJ Def Joey, I do judge. Then it cuts to a screen which reads, "Start starring DJ Def Joey as Self, Catherine Lou Hall as my great-grandma. Personally, I think Catherine's role in this deserves a Grammy. Mama movement test. A set crew all stands out of the way for some sort of large marionette. A spindly looking woman is puppeteered across the floor, walking and crawling in ways similar to human but not quite there. The puppet is lifted above the ground with strings and rope. Upon closer inspection, it doesn't appear to be a puppet at all. Elongated human hands appear real, joints and muscles moving in them as they grip and curl. This appears to be a real person wearing some sort of a strange mask, being puppeteered like a doll. Or is it just a strangely realistic character? Whether it's one or the other, if you simply go to the description of the video, it's shown to be a movement test for the character Mama from the Guillermo del Toro film by the same name. Creepy. Daisy leaves. We see a body wrapped in black trash bags and duct tape lying on the floor inside at a front door of someone's house. Extremely distorted, loud, and high-pitched music plays as we watch the still body. A white screen flashes for only a fraction of a second with jumbled text reading, "Lady went there churchyard, thee came back, thee came looking ground, thee be said," screams. The music cuts off as the front door is suddenly shown open with the body gone. A man approaches and closes the door eventually. This video was most likely a part of an augmented reality series, as if you go to the channel, there is a whole slew of videos with Daisy. This is only one of them. Not really scary when you know this fake, but that's also why the grandma video was so scary, because my first time watching it, I really thought it was real. Arabic YouTube. Arabic YouTube isn't a video, but instead a genre of YouTube that has its own sort of flavor. Arabic YouTube is extremely strange. To show you, let's go over a few examples. One good example is titled something along the lines of, "The woman claims to be the Virgin Mary as Mary to Christ," when translated in Google. It was uploaded by the user Eminem Music, although this is clearly not Eminem's latest hit. The video appears to be of a woman walking on all fours with her legs twisted backwards, almost appearing like a camel. Other than videos like that creepy one, it's just a bunch of flea market garbage like random game ads and clips. My house walkthrough. This infamous video has been reviewed by the likes of even Markiplier, who dubbed it the scariest video on YouTube. We start the video off through the lens of a camera, seeing the interior of an extremely deteriorated room, seemingly from a condemned house. A bed can be seen next to stained walls and strewn objects. The sound of the wind woke me up in the middle of the night. A typhoon is in Japan. He then begins the tour. This is my room. The tatami mats are terribly damaged. He says this as the camera pans past paper walls that are ripped to shreds and a very strange framed picture of some sort of creature. Tonight, I want to introduce my house. This is the longest hallway in my house. He peers down a long hall, but the light does not capture its full length. He turns the camera behind him to show a damaged wall with insulation showing all over, a shelf sitting at the top of it all. This is the altar and ancestors. He pans the camera to more framed pictures of his ancestors and family. When I open this sliding door, there is another hallway. He makes his way to the end of the hall after pointing out small landmarks like a picture of his mother and the doll room that his grandfather apparently closed up. When I turn left at the end, there's another hallway. He mentions the fact that he can hear a sutra coming from somewhere. My grandfather is always listening to sutra from the radio. He peers at the ceiling, mentioning the ceiling's tendency to peel when it rains, before stating, "This is the longest hallway in my house." Shadi, you already said that. A typhoon is in Japan. This is my room. He takes the camera by familiar landmarks, things we've already previously seen. This whole time he's never circled back around, so it's impossible that he could be back next to his room, but we somehow are. He makes his way through the same landmarks as prior, this time mentioning different ones, such as a picture of one of his old great-grandfathers and a dressing room that his grandfather also closed off. When I turn left at the end, there's another hallway. This is the longest hallway in my house. He remarks yet again as we eerily see a very familiar hallway. This is my grandmother's bedroom. He peers through the wall to show a heavily stained bed. This room is closed up by my grandfather. He's never passed this room before, yet it's clear that this is the same hallway we've passed through twice. When I open the sliding door, there's another hallway. The roof leaks. He makes his way through the familiar hall. The same hall he previously mentioned had a leak when it rains. When I turn to the end, there's another hallway. He turns left, but instead of another hallway, he just turns into the bathroom as if it had completely replaced the hallway. This is the bathroom. The ceiling has rotted and fallen away. There are rat nests above the ceiling. He turns out of the bathroom back into the hallway, remember, not listing any landmarks, but quickly making his way straight to the sliding door, into the same hallway again. again. He turns to face a room without a door. This room is dress room. Hold up, man, hold up. If my memory serves me well, that room was like close up by your grandfather. Then he says, there are a lot of dresses of my grandmother. He pans the camera over piles and piles of clothes strewn about, spatters of what looks like blood all over everything. My grandmother is not here. The holes eaten by insects have turned black like bloodstains. Shawty, those don't look anything like holes that look like bloodstains. Those look an awful lot like bloodstains that look like bloodstains. This is doll room, he says as he makes his way out of the dress room and into the room across from it. Various types of dolls can be seen. He makes his way back into the hallway. The wall peels from the ceiling when it rains. He says yet another time as we see some of the familiar objects from before have changed in slight ways. A small vase that was previously on a little shelf is now tipped over with what looks like hair falling from it. When I turn left at the end, there's another hallway. The wall peels off from the ceiling when it rains. Chat, I don't know about you guys, but I know for sure that when it rains, that guy's walls is gonna be peeling off the ceiling. He makes his way straight to the end of the hallway. When I open this sliding door, there's another hallway. He stops to look at two framed photos sitting on a small shelf. This is a picture of my mother when she's a child. Both pictures seem to be of grown adults. Not only that, but they are heavily distorted images with black boxes splotching the image. My grandfather is always listening to Sutra on the radio. When I turn left at the end, there's another hallway. This is the longest hallway in my house. This is the doll room. He turns into a new room. No one has been in this room for a long time. He peers at a terrifying sight. All of the dolls and everything in the room have been covered with some sort of silky web of flesh, almost as if a spider could spin strings of meat instead of silk. That's the only way I can describe it. These dolls are rotten. Grandmother is not here. He makes his way very quickly to the end of the hall. Framed images on the side distorted. When I open this sliding door, there's another hallway. When I turn left at the end, there's another hallway. This is the longest hallway in my house. He walks down the considerably more decayed door, almost walking past a giant opening in a new room. This is my grandmother's bedroom. This room has no taste. He pans the camera casually over a set of shoes. This is grandmother's shoes. He then just as casually pans the camera over a bed with some sort of woman fused to it, flesh stretching onto it, becoming one with the bed itself. Grandmother is here. He makes his way through the sliding door. He is almost at the point of running now, making his way to the next hallway and quickly as possible. He is almost at the point of running now, making his way to the next hallway as quickly as possible. This is the bathroom. He stares into a bathroom with a floor that is flooded with blood, heavily staining the ground and covering it so much that it's become somewhat solid, almost like rubber. My grandfather is here, he says as he shows his grandfather in the tub, completely melted away to bone and some red flesh layering his body. As he enters the hallway again, he makes mention of the ceiling. What about the ceiling, you may be asking yourself? Well, dear viewer, the ceiling has wall panels, and when it rains, guess what? They peel. When I open the sliding door, there's another hallway. He slides open the door to the terrifying discovery that the entire home is covered completely in the flesh silk from earlier, not a single spot being clear of it. He starts repeating what he's said over and over again, making his way back to his room. Of all the things he repeats, he mostly makes mention of the typhoon that is in Japan. Finally, he says, "Sweet dreams," and the lights turn off. No Through Road. On December 15th, 2008, four 17-year-old boys from Stevenage, Hertfordshire were reported missing by their families. On December 17th, their bodies were found at Broom Hall Farm, 10 miles outside of Stevenage, in the car they had been driving. The following video has been released with the parents' consent and the hope of aiding the investigation. The actual video seems to start with a group of younger men carpooling together and generally hanging out. It's late at night when they're all driving, and you can see the lights of other cars and buildings outside the window for a while before one of them can be heard saying, "Oh, dead end." From this point, they must have changed their route as they end up away from the lights of the other cars and out on a side road, leading to a tunnel. As they happen upon the tunnel, there's a sign posted on the side that reads "No Through Road." As they go through the tunnel, they change their minds once they reach the other side about continuing down the road as they fear it may be private property. So they reverse back through the tunnel and turn around, heading back in the direction they came from. Eventually, while driving, they run into a double sign that reads the nearby location Bennington, which they are not familiar with and do not remember crossing prior. After about an hour of driving, they stop the car to try to think about where they're going. They realize that they somehow have become lost. One of the friends by the name of Steve later exits the car once again to try to see if there are any visible lights from any direction. While looking around, staying visible to the rest of the group through the windshield of the car, he suddenly becomes panicked by something he sees in the distance. At first instinct, wanting to run away, then realizing the reality and getting back in the car, screaming for the group to drive. Steve would later describe what he saw as someone wearing some sort of mask. Driving
Driving on, the group realizes that the road is seeming more and more familiar when eventually they see the glow of a sign. In shock and disbelief, they finally make out the words on the post, Bennington. It was the same sign they had been at over an hour ago. They drive for around 2.5 hours longer before yet again running into a new sign. They drive for around 2.5 hours longer before yet again running into a new sign. Psych, it's the same sign actually. Did I get you? Bennington back at it again. They decide to try turning the radio on and are met with extremely strange noises followed by awful screaming. Finally, the group sees lights that are actually real lights this time and even sees a sign that does not read Bennington. Instead, it reads Stevenage, which is where they're trying to go. They even pass another car on the way. As they drive on and on towards Stevenage and the black, they forget to turn their brights on, and when they do, the car illuminates a tunnel that they were at countless hours ago. Suddenly, the lights flicker, coming on again to show the masked man standing in front of the tunnel as the radio starts playing the strange tone from earlier. The man somehow is able to outbody the group in the car, leaving one of them to run away on foot, carrying the camera. He runs into the tunnel, which doesn't seem like the smartest idea, but hey man, you do you. The video ends when the masked man grabs the camera from him and smashes it into his head, repeatedly breaking the camera. Carl Mayer. This video starts out with a simple drawing of two babies holding hands. The image switches to that of flowers as the music of the video can start to be heard. It is strange, high-pitched sounds that almost sound like a hurt dog. The music gets more and more bizarre as strange voices start to harmonize and the flower image turns different colors. An image of Pennywise, the dancing clown as portrayed by Tim Curry, is shown on screen before returning to the trippy flowers. A drawing of a doll head can also be seen in between the flower images shown. Eventually, another clown image is shown when suddenly the music blasts a heavy train-like sound as strange images show on screen, including an old image of three people that I can't identify. More confusing images show and the music returns to the unpleasant sound before ending. All in all, really not that disturbing. Try some 100 gags, bro. I don't really know that 100 gags goes crazy. Sewer creature spotted. This video starts out with the view of a camera on the ground of a sewer viewing a hallway. Some sort of human-like figure can be seen sticking out of the corner, shying away when the rolling camera rolls closer. It eventually peeks back out again, appearing to have gray skin and long, lengthy arms. The scariest part about this video is the fact that it was uploaded by United Utilities, official site that would not fake something like this for no reason, and the video looks legit. Cursed Kleenex commercial. There's a Kleenex commercial of all things that was known as lost media for the longest time. Many people described a commercial with a strange orange thing with a horn on his head that was supposedly featured in this commercial, and many people refused to believe it until the video finally emerged. People said that the commercial was cursed. Some said it even changes when you watch it at midnight, and supposedly there's a video that catches it in action. The commercial plays out like usual. A woman sits with a strange baby and lifts up a Kleenex that flies away. Cut and dry, plain and simple. Oh, but when the video plays back again, right as midnight arrives, the video breaks up into black squares, horribly glitching. Could this be the curse? I dare you to test it for yourselves. Alright guys, that was this Iceberg. If you enjoyed this one, you are in luck because soon after I have another Iceberg about more scary videos coming out, more obscure ones deeper in the iceberg. It's a two-parter of this one big iceberg. So yeah, just get excited for that one, subscribe, leave a like, and thank you guys for watching, seriously. Have a great day. Sweet dreams.